Today, it's a quick talk. We could probably have done a much longer talk, but I have 20 minutes to talk about everything going on with Python and InterSystems. I had I had Claude write me the title, but I thought it was cute, so I kept it. Python meet InterSystems. So there's this huge world out there, this huge community around Python and what's happening, throughout all areas of technology. Outside of SQL, Python's almost even past SQL here. Outside of JavaScript, which is everybody uses it for something. So when Stack Overflow does this survey, they ask you, do you use JavaScript or HTML at all? Obviously, everybody would say that. SQL and Python are about tied. These are things that you wouldn't just, always have done a little bit of if you're any kind of a developer. So Python, 58% of developers know Python, use it. Way above, so I've been in this job for 7 years. I've looked at this survey every year. Used to be that, Java was more of a contender, but now it's pretty obvious Python has won this whole thing. And this is important because if you're hiring teams, people are going to come out of college with a lot of Python experience. As you look to create, good stable teams, we want to, as InterSystems, not be reliant on telling people, well, you got to come in and you have to spend half a year learning ObjectScript technology and globals and this whole stack that you may not be familiar with before you can get productive at all. And you can't, and you have to have specialized teams. You can't just take talent, generic talent from out of college or other ways you get talent from, sourcing agencies or things like that. You can't just take people and put them onto a project. It's going to take you a long time to ramp up if you want to do anything with InterSystems. That's a really tough argument to make to get people to participate long-term in your future. So it's much better if you could say, ObjectScript is not going away. There's no danger of that. But it's a much better story if you can say, you can do all this stuff and you can get to a certain point where if you need extra performance or you need something special or this unique functionality, then you can have some specialized people get into ObjectScript side, but you don't always have to have that expertise right from the get-go. So, we would like to create a stronger foundation around Python, as well as keeping what we have with ObjectScript. And we'd also like to, expand the range of things you can do with Python across the platform. Big hole up till now, up till this year, has been interoperability. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So I talked about the first idea. The second card there is Python 3.14. In the past, people have said, well, Python is, it's not for real programmers. It's slow, bad performance. It's not multi-threaded. It's really maturing with 3.14. I don't think we support it completely yet, but this is on the road. This is coming really soon. This is right around the corner. A lot of very, very mature type functionality for the language, which Java's had for a while, and Python is catching up. Lots of the last card is about community, about the range of functionality you don't have to build yourself if you're a Python in the Python ecosystem. Almost 700,000 packages on PyPI that you might grab and use and integrate into your platform. Everything from the big ones like NumPy and Matplotlib for data analysts and data science, to specialized things to process DICOM imagery, all kinds of stuff you can find out there in the Python community to accelerate your whole development lifecycle. So what are we doing? 3 big areas. Actually, you might want to call it 2 big areas. One is relational data access, and the other one is interoperability, 2 of our big, foundational strengths. We have come out with a new DB API driver in the last year or so. And what that does is, I don't know if anybody's done, who did Python development before we had a DB API driver? I know a bunch of you. And what drivers did you use, and what? You had to like find Psycho PG or something, maybe use something that was really meant for Postgres and not a great, or maybe use PyODBC and get at it that way. This is the modern way to do relational database access with Python, is through the DB API driver. So definitely get this and try it out. And hopefully this will make your development, this is really targeted not so much at existing, like people in this room, but it makes new people just coming to the InterSystems technology stack and community, makes it dead simple for them to get started, looks just like any other database. Great easy entry point. Now, when you want to go a little bit more sophisticated and do your database modeling in Python, we all know that in ObjectScript you got classes which allow you to create any object model you want. You may create a relational model, you may create something more complicated, but if you start with ObjectScript and do your relational modeling there, you can do it all in code. You don't even ever have to worry about the fact that there are database tables back there. So SQLAlchemy does kind of the same thing for you on the Python side. It's just that SQLAlchemy, you're limited to a relational data model. You can't get as sophisticated as you can with ObjectScript. You can't create any kind of object model you want. But it's the same idea, object relational mapping. So on the Java side, if you're familiar with Hibernate, this is the Python version of Hibernate, SQLAlchemy. So we have just released this on PyPI. Does everybody know what PyPI is? I forgot to cover that when I mentioned it earlier. But PyPI, the place where you can download, that's the place everybody knows and looks to download packages and frameworks that work with Python. We can get it to you. Sometimes we have had it on GitHub, but we have been able to finally get things deployed through PyPI, delivered through PyPI, so that you can pip install them. That's the biggest win right there, is being able to say pip install whatever is coming from InterSystems, instead of having to go and find it on a GitHub repo or find it on component download from WRC. You can pip install. And now you can do that with DB API and SQLAlchemy. And another tool I don't have a slide for, called Alembic. Yeah, I don't have a slide for that. Stefan here. We had a request. We've been working on, Alembic is a tool to help you. It's a Python framework that helps you deal with schema migration, schema evolution. Little bit sophisticated there too as well. But the core things that you're probably going to want to work with if you're doing relational database type stuff is DB API and SQLAlchemy. Just do a time check. How much? Okay, so the big highlight is pyprod. This is one thing we've never had before, even though we had some rudimentary support for Python, which keeps maturing, but we've never had any good way to tell you how do you do integrations completely in Python without ever having to touch a user interface. And we are getting there with pyprod. So this is another thing that we are releasing on GitHub. And you can do all aspects of a production. The only thing we have left to do is finish being able to actually create the production that you start and stop, and do that completely in code. Right now you still have to go into the UI and do that, but you can create all your business services and business processes and operations right in this one framework. And that's the first thing that's really interesting about pyprod. The second thing that's interesting is that we are releasing this as open source. So along with, I think this is the second thing other than VS Code ObjectScript extension that we have released as open source. The difference with this is that we are officially supporting it more broadly right out of the gate. We support VS Code now, but we didn't when it first was released 4 years ago. But this is exciting because not only can you download it and use it, but you can also help develop additional functionality on it. And I think this is an area where there will be a lot of additional development and community interested in building lots of interesting things like Fire profiles, Fire support. I think would be an interesting thing. Fire is different all over the world. Actually, we'll see how it goes, but Fire might go the way of HL7, where every different hospital or every different community that uses Fire has their own little peculiarity you have to adapt to, in which case you'll want to do a lot of hand coding. Some other things I think are really interesting about using pyprod versus creating your production some other way is that this becomes an easy way to source control it. In client-side Python, you see the files and you have an easy way to understand how you're gonna source control it, maybe a little bit easier than you did in the past with the ObjectScript side or going through the low-code UI. I think it's gonna be really interesting for AI agents. I think we're gonna see a lot of AI agents being used to develop interfaces in the future. And it'll be very interesting to see how much better they do if they can reason on a piece of Python code, which honestly, there are millions and millions of Python developers in the world, right? And we don't have millions and millions of ObjectScript developers. So the amount of code AI agents are getting smart on, just Python dwarfs the ObjectScript community. So I think it'll be, if we can design this right, not just the interfaces, but also the way it interacts not only with Iris, but with external Python libraries, I think we can see interface creation get really, really easy. I hesitate because I don't want to promise anything, but we'll see. We'll see. It's basically in your hands. So, like I said, you can get started really fast with this. All three things I just talked about are available on PyPI. So they're available through pip installing. And they're all pretty new though, so I'm definitely interested in hearing what you have to say about their usage and helping us work through any kinks. They're all, very easy to get started with and talk about. We are going to have a big focus on delivering additional documentation and samples, working on some sample code projects on our developer hub, which will be coming out throughout the year. And it's going to be a big year for Python with InterSystems. You'll see a lot more focus on that language as a first class language for all their technology. And I think that's it. Yeah, so we have a bunch of excellent developers at the Tech Exchange Python table, and I'll be, in addition to them, I'll be in there as much as I can this week. And so I'd love to hear, that's all I have prepared, so I'd love to hear your questions and where you'd like any comments or interests that you may have.
What are the differences between these new libraries and the actually existing Iris native library?
That's a good question. So the Iris native libraries, the focus was really a much lower. That's a good question. Has anybody used the Iris native libraries for Python? Anybody familiar? Couple. So that.
It was more about accessing globals, accessing methods.
Yeah. So that proves my point. It's it's not almost a Python audience. It's really thought a lot about this in developing the things we did. But those really, so they let you call ObjectScript classes, they let you get at globals, stuff that you kind of already are really good at. If you can do that, you're really good at it in ObjectScript. So there's a question about, why are you in Python if you already know, if you want to use an ObjectScript class, why are you there? So the focus here is much more on in very intuitive not user interface, a very intuitive developer experience for Python people who know nothing about our technology. So Iris Native is great if somehow you need to integrate Iris into an existing Python application you have, and you get somebody who knows, InterSystems technology really well, and they can do that wiring. But somebody who comes in fresh with Python knowledge would never, they'd still have to go through all the learning to be able to use Iris Native. So it doesn't really help as much, all the ObjectScript learning. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you want to, people go through school, not even college, they go through high school and they know how to connect to a database with Python. So now with this, they'll know how to use InterSystems, right out of high school probably. And they wouldn't with the Iris Native library.
To support the .py files inside the Iris?
.py files? Yeah, we do with embedded Python. We already support .py.
You are running a .cos file.
You're
in a class.
Mm-hmm.
Writing Python, but in a class. Do you plan to support the native POI file inside the Iris?
You're not actually in a class. There's two different ways that embedded Python can run. One is inside a class, and one is just separate .py file actually running in its own process. Mm-hmm. But yeah, both are supported, and I can't remember, I'm looking around, I don't know if Mark knows. They're both supported, and when you fire up Python one way, I can come to the Tech Exchange table and we'll show you the difference. But one way you're actually running as an ObjectScript method, but another way you're just running a pure Python file. So you can do all you want in embedded Python in just a .py file. And you can debug it. That's some new documentation we released this year. Uh-huh.
PyProd. How could you register inside the production? Do you need something like the actual production extension component, something like that?
Mm-hmm. All that goes away with pyprod. There's no registering it. This is why I call it 100% pure Python productions. Is you never have to go in the UI. You never have to, do anything outside of your code. The idea is you can write a single Python file and have a full production.
So it's not only defining the components, but also adding that to the production, defining the work.
Yep.
How about schemas and transformations and macros?
That's why it's an open source project, so everybody can add those. No, the interoperability, it's a huge technology stack, right? There's a lot of work to do. It's going to take years to get there, yeah. So that was a quick overview. I'm sure there's tons of questions, but sure.
So you're talking about standard production, but instead of just adding, instead of adding ObjectScript components, you're adding Python, like complete Python components to the production and configuring them right there in the management portal.
Not even the management portal. You're just writing, you're in your text editor, VS Code or whatever, you're writing Python code, and it's creating business objects and services and all those things. You're just writing those in Python classes. And then you're using Python methods to wire them together.
Right, but you said we still have to start the UI to stop the start.
Today you do, but hopefully within weeks that'll be gone. I'm just caveat. If you go to GitHub today, the instructions will show you. You still have to go into the UI and bring them in and start and stop, but that should go away in a couple weeks. So I would probably wait, but just a caveat, if you go there today, you will have to do some UI stuff, but coming soon, you won't. There's
yeah. Since I'm writing Python code, how can I send production method? How can I do the installation in remote environment so several customers from
how can you do?
deployment of the Python code, maybe create productions inside Iris?
I'm not the developer.
Understanding that in the development environment,
Mm-hmm.
this code is doing that first.
Mm-hmm.
How can I deploy that in installation in several environments?
Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, this is embedded Python code. So what you're doing is you're pushing the Python code up to the server and running it. I'm not the developer, so I can't tell you the exact way it's happening. But at the end of the day, it's embedded Python, and it's just code running in your server in process using the Ensemble libraries.
I think you can do it with the manifests.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can do silent iris configuration.
Mm-hmm.
And it would just be embedded Python in there in a manifest.
When the round is closed, right?
Okay, thanks.